When building an app for your classroom, it all starts with an AI prompt. On my website, I've created a sample prompt that you can start with. If you go over to prompting, you can get some tips. Some things I recommend is to lead in with a learning goal and make sure to ask for a mobile-friendly website because a lot of your students will probably be using their phone. Top Hat comes with a built-in embed for their pages, but it is limited to 720 by 450 frames. So that's something to keep in mind, especially if you want to build a bigger app. You might need to let that live in its own website. But if you're building something small, you can have it embedded right into Top Hat, and I'll show you how to do that. No logins or accounts should be necessary, and you really want to iterate in plain words. So you don't need to know anything about coding. You just want to be able to talk to your app or your chat bot plainly. And then importantly, you always want to tell your chat bot to build something in a self-contained single HTML file because that's the easiest thing to host and embed into Top Hat. So that seems like a lot, but if you come down here, you can just copy this prompt and that copies most of those instructions for you. So let's say I want to create a little survey for students. I'm in psychology, so I want students to get to know their Big Five personality. So I'm going to copy this prompt and then go to my chat window for my AI. I use Claude, but you could just as easily use ChatGPT, Gemini, really anything. I'm going to paste this in, and it's saying build a self-contained HTML file for a college class activity about, I'm going to say the Big Five personality inventory. It's one of the biggest or top personality inventories out there. Goal, help students know what their Big Five personality traits are. And I can add a little bit more to this. Have the website walk them through a Big Five survey and then give them their own results at the end using a colorful graph. I can really make it say anything. But it says, make it interactive and self-scoring, mobile-friendly with large tap targets and size to fit cleanly into this frame with no scrolling. That's all there if I want this to integrate nicely with Top Hat. No logins or accounts, it would just run from the link. So you can pick what model you want to do. This is a pretty simple one, so I'm just going to keep it on Sonnet 5 and go ahead and click OK. And basically it's going to take a few minutes and generate this web page for me. Now, you don't need to take the very first thing it gives you. You can always prompt it to make small tweaks if you don't like the coloring or the functionality in some way. Thankfully, with all of these, they're really good at taking feedback. So as you can see here, it's now built me a nice little web page. I can, of course, run through it to make sure it all works. Basically, this is going to be living in a little bit of a smaller window, so it won't look quite like this when it's all posted. But this looks pretty good. It's responding to my clicks, and hopefully it's recording all that. Of course, you'd probably want to run through it a few times to really see if it's working, but that's about what I want. Of course, I could re-prompt it if I wanted anything different, but I think that looks great. So after that point, you have a self-contained HTML file with all of this in it. You just want to go up to this arrow and click Download as HTML. So once you have your downloaded HTML file, you can use any web host to host it so that it's live. I like to use Netlify personally. And so I'm going to go Add New Project. And then down here it says drag or drop your folder here. I have it on my desktop. I'm just going to drag it in right at the bottom. And then I can rename and deploy. And now it's live and it creates a URL for me. I could edit that if I want to, but really no one's going to see that, so it's totally fine. So if I click on this, it gives me a live version of it. I'm basically just going to take this URL right here, and that's what I'm going to drop into Top Hat. So if I go to a Top Hat page, and let's say I want to include this with a few other questions, so I want to include it as a page. So I'll click and do a new page here. I'll name it Big Five Inventory or whatever I want to name it. And a little bit of instructions. Take the survey below to learn about your personality. So to actually embed it, you want to go Insert, then down to iframe. And that's where you're going to copy your URL in there. Click Insert there, and that's where it lives. And then I can add any other Top Hat stuff I want to it. For example, if I'm studying people's ocean, then I might want to have a question where I'm having people say basically what they are in terms of the big five. So I could put that as a few different ones like, are you high in openness? True or false? Or I could just shorten that to, yes or no. And I could have a string of questions. I could do, one of the things I've done for the Big Five before is create an image with a bunch of scales on it that people can click on to show where they are in the Big Five. You can put in discussion items. You can really kind of build in anything you want once you have your app embedded into Top Hat. And really it's as easy as that. You start with a build in AI, you publish it with a web hoster like Netlify or GitHub, and then you implement it into a page, and then that's where it can live for your students to interact with. And this is what it'll look like for them, where when they're on the page, they can just click start and go through it within the actual Top Hat page. It all lives here, it all works within that, and it's very easy to then have students interact with it and then stay within the Top Hat ecosystem.